Welcome back to Rebuild Rescue. So day 2 of working on the Jeep CJ5. We got a starter, which was kind of hard to find. Who would have knew that a starter from 1976 would be hard to find at a store these days? And also, who would have knew that this isn't a Dodge 360 like I thought it was? It's actually an AMC 360, which made it even worse to try to find a starter for us. So we drove around for hours this morning trying to find a starter. We did find one, so we are gonna get it in. We're gonna try to get it running. We're gonna try to drive it. Don't know if any of that stuff's gonna work, but yesterday, I was reminded of something my high school counselor had told me about making some better decisions. So today, coming back for the Jeep, I actually brought a trailer with me just in case we have to put it on the trailer. Now, I don't want to put it on the trailer. I want to get it running, I want to drive it. So that's our goal. But, Miss Martin, I'm trying. That has to be the easiest starter I've ever taken out of a vehicle. I think they should all be designed like this. I mean, I know the saying about it being a Jeep thing. This is a good Jeep thing. It looks like it came with instructions. We don't need that. All right, let's get this thing in. All right, we got the new starter in. Let's see what happens when we turn the key. I didn't get a starter solenoid. I didn't even bother looking for a new starter solenoid because chances are nobody would have had one. That solenoid still is out. So today, since we melted a smaller screwdriver, I brought a bigger one. Not a good sign. So we put the new starter on, and unfortunately it is still turning over slow. It's a little locked up, I think, in there. I think either valves or I'm not sure, but the engine's definitely tight. It's turning over real slow. Wondering if some starter fluid would help. Oh, we don't have starter fluid.
What about just dumping gas down in there?
I can try. Like if it does fire off, it would, the starter fluid would definitely get fire off if it's going to fire off. But it's barely turning over, it's turning over so slow. And I'm not sure why. Did put plenty of gas in there last time, that's for sure. There's plenty of fuel in there. All right, let's see if we at least get some smoke out of the pipes here. All right, so a couple things we can check is it could be the electrical connections, or it could be that we got a brand new battery that has low amperage. Even if you check the voltage, it's really not going to tell you because it's the amperage that turns it over. So I'm going to do what any red-blooded American backyard mechanic would do, which is give it more juice. All right. Now let's see what it does. Same thing. So I think the only other thing I can do is All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'll just clean all the connections on all the grounds here because they are pretty gunked up, hoping that'll get us the voltage we need. If it's not something that's electrical, then it means it's internal. You know, that could be so many different things, but we'll see if we can figure it out here yet today. If not, we'll throw her up in the trailer, get her back to the rebuild rescue shop. I'm really hoping we get it started though. That cable looks good. Connection looks good. So it looks like the ground strap here to the frame is a little rusty, but it does have a strap going directly to the starter, so it's questionable whether that could be causing that to spin over slow. See if that helps any. Nah. Let's try giving it some more juice one more time. It's actually, did you hear it? I thought kind of tried a fire. I'm gonna try something a little bit different. I'm gonna put a tiny little bit of 2-stroke oil down in the intake here. Then we're gonna pour some gas down in it. Hopefully get a little lubrication in there. That'll get down in the cylinders here. Or at least flood it out good. All right, let's try this again. It does sound like it's loosening up a bit. Maybe the more we turn it over. Seemed like if it could turn over faster, it might actually kick off. Maybe we like pull down the highway for 5 miles or so, we could maybe loosen up the engine a little bit.
Your Jeep's not gonna stop.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm getting is burnt screwdrivers. Even with the MSD ignition here, I don't know how this is wired. I don't know if some of this stuff is wrong or right anymore. There could be some blown fuses in there. Whew, she's hot. Oh, sorry, I didn't need that skin. So this may or may not be the best way to go about this, but I'm gonna try to keep turning over a bit. Hopefully it loosens up the engine some. Maybe we'll get lucky. Yeah, that's not right. Oh, holy hot. What happens if you hop in there and you push the clutch down while I'm trying to do that? I'm just curious to see if something. Nope. I wanted to see if it maybe the transmission was locked up and it would release the engine or something. What's the chances that after this was rolled, based on how much rust is on the top of this roll cage, which would have been newer on the time, that it sat outside uncovered with the air cleaner on, but the air cleaner, I mean, it's just a metal cover. And there's this nice little dip in here. This looks pretty rusty too. So what's the chances this sat just like this and it rained on here for a couple years, and the rain also got down inside here and slowly leaked down into the engine, and all those bearings and everything in the crank and just everything inside of there. What if the whole thing's like pretty much rusty in there? We have no way of telling. I'll loosen up the alternator here. Oh, they're hot. Note to self, if you don't want burn marks in your hands, don't grab hot screwdrivers. Maybe the water pump's even locked up a bit, or this alternator. The oil doesn't have any moisture in it. It's not milky at all, so I don't think moisture got down in the engine. Would be my luck that moisture did get down in the engine, but I don't think it did. So we're gonna loosen this up, get the belt loose. We can check, see, make sure the alternator's not frozen or the water pump's not frozen up, causing the motor to turn slow. So pretty much everything else in the engine is going to be lubricated. So the alternator is spinning over, but you can hear the bearing clicking in it, which tells me this thing definitely sat out in moisture. Water pump spins free, there's no bearing noise, nothing there. Definitely tells me that, at least on this side, you know, although the alternator is going to need replaced, it's not keeping the motor from spinning over. If I had my car with me, I would have my scope with me and I could scope the cylinders and I could have looked at them before I even fired it up. I had it with me yesterday, but I didn't think about it. I didn't think there would be that much moisture in there, but if you do look at that one spark plug, it's definitely questionable. I have half a notion to unhook all the spark plugs and squirt like a ton of two-stroke lube in there and just make sure it's like way lubed up and then just see if it frees it up. Watch it be like a broken rod or something. Like it's like literally welded to the frickin' crankshaft. I'm thinking before we give up, before we quit, I'm gonna pull the spark plugs out and I'm just gonna dump a ton of oil down the cylinders because I'm curious. I just want to see if maybe there's that much rust on the walls, the cylinders and the pistons, that they're just barely getting up there and they're not getting any lube because it's not turning over fast enough. So I figure if I put about a quart of oil in each one of those cylinders, that ought to be enough to get it good and lubricated.
That is a fantastic idea.
So if you look on there, there's a ton of rust. So it does tell me that cylinder was really rusty, which has me worried. That could mean that the pistons were rusted to the cylinders. We broke them loose by pulling them with the truck. But they still could be, you know, pretty much just stuck on there. Yeah, there's a bunch of carbon and rust and stuff on that one too. It's pretty clean. Let's see if we can get some oil down in there. Pretty close to top dead center. Alright, let's get the other ones out. There's only one cylinder looked like it on this side, looked like it could have had some rust in there. We'll get some dead dinosaurs down here. All right, we'll let that soak in a while we clean up, and I'll leave enough tools out to get the plugs and stuff back in. The only reason I really put the oil in is just so it could set in. I mean, I'll probably turn the motor over slowly when it really won't prove anything, but at least it'll, you know, help my curiosity. So we remembered that the rear axle, when it flipped, it moved on the spring perch probably 3, almost 4 inches, and it's rubbing on the shock mount. So We're gonna get it jacked up, and hopefully I can influence it with a hammer to get back to where it's supposed to be. All right, let me grab the jack. What's the best way to do this if I'm gonna be banging on it? I would usually jack it up in the center section in the rear, but that's what I'm gonna be hammering on. So I think I'll just get it under this nice skid plate that's on here and try to get some weight off of it. And maybe put a jack stand or two under it so it doesn't land on my head. That's good. I got enough weight off of it. Bingo. I'm just gonna let it down slow. Something shifted. It's all loose now, so I'm gonna jack it back up and see if I can't move it around. All right, so I got the shackle loose down here. I'm gonna take this ratchet strap and see if we can't pull the axle back on the leaf spring over here to get it so we can roll it. So we got the leaf spring mounts all squared up. So the axle's square. It did show me that the axle isn't positioned right, or the tub's not positioned right, or something. Something's off. Again, I mean, this thing rolled 3 times. I don't know if the frame's twisted. I don't know what's what. So, you know, at some point we're gonna have to take it all apart. We're gonna have to square everything up, you know, make sure it's where it needs to be. If we have to do some fab on the frame mounts or something, it's not a big deal. All right, well, that makes this look a little better. So now you have like an inch clearance here, but that still isn't right. You should be able to jump a Jeep 10 or 15 feet in the air and land it and throw it sideways as hard as you can and have it drift anywhere you want. That's what a Jeep should be. That's an off-road vehicle, not one that you go around a corner and it falls on its side. Cool thing about the Jeep as I work on it, the builder did spend a lot of time on it. He did spend a lot of money. Most of the parts, although it sat for 20 years, you know, there's just surface rust on some stuff. The whole tub's fiberglass, thick fiberglass. I mean, obviously that's not rusting. This is gonna be real easy to clean up and make look nice. It just depends if we're gonna really modify it, or if we're gonna kind of keep it stock but set it up the way it should be. kind of reminds me of when I was a kid out in the yard working on stuff, trying to get something to run so I could have something to drive or ride. All these years later, I'm in the yard working on something just to work on something. Fire in the hole. I don't even know if we're getting spark. I guess I should check, see if we're getting spark. Sounds different, a little bit. I'm sure this battery's gotta be half dead by now. All this gas on here. Let me see what happens when I unhook the spark. Interesting. I don't know, it still turns over slow once you pull them out, huh? Wish I had some starting fluid. Starting fluid always makes everything better. I'd have to turn the ignition on to get spark. So maybe we'll do that. Why don't we turn the ignition on? We'll try that. See what that does. Tried to do something.
Coming out of here.
Out of where?
Down,
Oh.
the spark plugs.
Yeah, so pump the gas. Keep pumping it. Just like that. All right, wait a second. Get this booster here hooked up. Whoa, the screwdriver's hot as Oh, it's running. Oh, it was running. You know what I am gonna do is I'm gonna dump a bunch of decent gas in it. Can't believe it actually fired up.
I know, that was sick.
Perseverance, tenacity. I'm hoping it didn't have much fuel in here so we can get some fresh fuel in. I hate these gas cans. They're the worst. All right. It's probably only like 2 gallons in there, but at least it's something. Let's see if we can't get this fired back up again.
Nest flew out of the exhaust. And I got it.
No way.
I got it right as I put the camera down there. It all shot out.
No, really?
All these acorns and nuts and
Oh my gosh.
nest. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's the same way in the other muffler. So we got it to start. It was kind of like a last ditch effort, and it fired up, and it's smoking like crazy. And as it's smoking, I think it was a squirrel's nest flew out of the exhaust. And there's not much flowing out of this exhaust. You can see it's still smoking. My bet is that there's a squirrel's nest in this muffler, not letting it breathe. I'll take it off at the collector here. Whew, it's hot. Oh man, oh, that is a first. It looks like I don't have any gloves, so I don't really want to pick up a hot muffler, but it looks like there was a squirrel sticking his nuts in the exhaust system. It's all the way up here in the collector. It is clogged solid with nuts. Obviously, he's never come back to get them, but can't make this stuff up. All right, I'm gonna throw it back on. I think the rest of it ought to shoot out of here. Well, that was definitely not helping on helping it run. Hopefully, we're not out of battery. We can get this fired up again now that both exhausts are clear. All right, let's try this again. Well, I can't believe it, but we got it running. I don't feel any kind of, oh, I feel some heat here. Hold up, I do feel some heat here. I didn't feel any in the radiator. I was a little bit worried that the thermostat might be clogged, which it still could. She's pretty warm though, so that makes me a little bit worried. Oh yeah, we got some old coolant mixed with a nice new coolant, so, and it's plenty warm. Just looking at this. This here used to power the electric fan. It's not looking too good right now, so I think we're gonna put a wire on there, see if the electric fan works. Feeling if we tried to drive it, that something would blow up alongside the road. All right, well, as long as that's grounded out and it's getting juice from the harness here, which is kind of questionable when you have wires kind of just hanging out, that'll get this fan going. There's some heat in it, which makes me happy, but I'm not sure if it's circulating or if it just got so hot it spit over into the radiator. Let's see if that fan works. Wish that worked. This side's still throwing nuts out. It's charging, it's getting the right water temp. Keep running. So it is charging 14 volts. We got 50 pounds of oil pressure. It's about 160 degrees water temp. and it's on E. Otherwise, everything's working really good. You can definitely hear the lifters are pretty noisy yet on the right side of the engine. I don't know if they're gonna loosen up at all or not, but it seems like it's cooling. It's charging, the electric fan's coming off and on. Let's see if we can get it to idle. It's in gear. And it's moving under its own power. Let's see if we got reverse. If I knew where reverse was, probably help. There she is. Looks like she's a 4-speed. Brakes work pretty good. Not sure what that knocking noise is. It's interesting that that's wired up to keep running, I think, regardless of the temperature. So I guess the question is now, do I try to drive it home or what? The reason we came here was to drive it home, right? Or to try to drive it home. So I think the only thing we're really gonna do is get the hood on there somehow so it stays on, which might be harder than what you would think because I don't know if we have the mounts to it anywhere. Look at this. Look at this treasure we found. We have hood mounts. We have lights that fell off when it wrecked, I'm sure, and we have nuts and bolts. We also have ratchet straps. You can do a lot of things with ratchet straps. The other thing too is we're gonna have to have it running before we ratchet strap the hood down. And we're gonna have to have as much gas in it as possible. I don't know, we'll see. I got a little more fresh gas in here, as long as you can make it to a gas station. The bearing in the alternator definitely has been making some noise. It's really rough. Could have an issue there. Water pump seems to be working good. I'm not so sure about the brakes because we didn't check them. We should probably be smart to check them, but that's okay. I think all we got to do is try to figure out a way to get the hood on. It's a one piece. I think we're gonna use some ratchet straps. Yeah, the only thing that really sucks about that is the starter solenoid's underneath there. So once we get the hood on, we're gonna have to undo all the ratchet straps to get it off again. But I think I might use some screwdrivers, do a little custom hood hinge through here and then just let it bounce around up here a bit. But I think actually with the straps, that ought to hold it down. I think we'll be good as long as I take it easy. All right, so see how it just lays up in the lip, this little pin. What all are we sitting on here? It's hard to see what it's hitting. I know it's hitting back here. It is sitting against here, which is keeping it from going front anymore. It's pretty solid. I think we could strap it down in a couple places, maybe take a strap from here down to here. It's not going to go anywhere. All right, let's see if I can get these quote-unquote hood pins to sit in here a little nicer. Try using a hammer this time. All right, there's hood pin number 2 installed. All right, so I think as long as I watch the screwdrivers there, I think I'll be all right. Just hold the ratchet strap the front down, and I think it'll be all right, at least for one trip. I would love to hook these things up, but I just can't get my hands back in there. There should be like some quick disconnects somewhere else for those. I think that's definitely a must. We do got 2 floodlights on it, which I think will definitely allow us to see. Some ratchet straps, a couple screwdrivers. We're set. That's how we'll do it. We'll just ratchet strap it down. Just like that. Now, if it does fly up, it's literally gonna fly into my face. But at least I'll see it coming.
There's a woman behind the bench who was hit with that ball.
I know that was bad. Yeah, so let's clean up, get everything put away, and let's go drive a Jeep home. Well, I can say these old JKs, they don't ride the best. Unless you're trying to knock a kidney stone loose. You can really hear it tapping pretty bad. Rev open that clears up. Being a 4-speed, it's got a huge gap between the gears. Either that or I'm not shifting it right, I don't know. Definitely makes some interesting noises when you're going back and forth on the throttle and off the throttle. Kind of sounds like it, like it might have a transmission mount broken or something. Yeah, its steering's pretty loose. In fact, I'm only doing like 35 and it's hard to keep it on the road. There's fourth gear. Oh, and the brakes don't like to stop too well either. No power brakes, 4 drums. Oh yeah, that transmission's clanging and banging. That was reversed. That mount's gotta be broke.
Get her some fuel since she hasn't had any in 20 years. She was empty.
So we made it back here to the rebuild rescue shop in one piece. I don't know if you guys can see me. Man. So we made it back to the shop. I'm frozen. I mean, it was 50 degrees out, but it felt like it was 20. That CJ was all over the road. Like literally, I was getting blown from left lane to the right lane, back and forth. The suspension needs some work. I mean, unless that's just the way the CJs are. Maybe it's a Jeep thing, I don't know, because I don't understand. But we made it back. It was like 150 miles, having my buddy behind me with my trailer. I honestly, a lot of times was thinking like, hey, I'm an idiot. Let's pull over, load this shit up so I can sit back, relax, and just take it easy on the way back. But it's not what Rebuild Rescue is about. We're about finding stuff that just doesn't run. You know, we're about finding things that need rebuilt, things that were forgotten about, things that were abandoned, and rebuilding them and making them work and making them run, and then getting them to, you know, maybe one of you. Anyway, thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoyed the video. Really hope you guys subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe. Ring the bell so you catch the next crazy thing we do, because we got plenty of crazy things planned.